Let's talk about scope of variables. This isn't really a command. There's what's called a global command, but let's talk about scope. Scope is how far a variable can be seen within a program. So for example, a lot of programs use what's called a global variable, and if you have a variable named x, everywhere in the program it's the same variable. If you have local variables where a variable is only seen within a certain thing, like for example within a loop or within a function, then you can have a variable called x. In fact, you can have a variable called x 10 different places and it's 10 different variables. And this leads to some seriously bad programming. So let's talk a little bit about scope, and I think I've got some examples here which will make it a lot clearer. Okay, so the global variables can be used anywhere in a program. It's the same one. If you have the name y, it's always the same. It'll have the same value no matter where it's accessed. A local variable, on the other hand, is only known within a certain, they call it scope. So you can use it within a function or within a loop, and within that area, that variable is actually a new variable. Yes, it has the same name, but it's actually a different variable. It becomes very confusing. So a variable in a function is invisible to the main code. Unless you use the global statement, a variable inside of a function is a new variable. You say, but it's the same name. Doesn't matter. It's the same, it's a different variable. So you can have two variables x, as I said earlier. You can have function x and you can have main code x. And I will repeat over and over, this is really dangerous. You can create some really nasty code, and I'll show you an example that I made that's really nasty code that I wrote it and I still have trouble understanding what it's doing. Okay, so here the word balance, the variable balance, is a global variable, and I can access that anywhere in the program. X, on the other hand, can only be used inside the function add amount. So here, balance is global, and X, this, can only be used with inside the function here. So let's run this, and before I get too far ahead of myself, run module, and the result is this balance equals 5 over here. So what has happened is I have called the function with a number 5. It comes up here, it has 5. The variable balance is global. You can see where it's been defined as global here. So balance equals balance plus x. And yeah, okay, so x is a 0 value, and so we come back with balance equals 5. Okay, that's very simple. It's rather trivial, but as you can see, it's this is an example of balance is global, and that means it was I was able to access it down here. This is the same balance as this balance and this balance and this balance. However, this x is unknown to main. Okay, so you say, well, that's pretty trivial. Okay, yeah, that's pretty trivial, but let's look at a bad code example. And this is a really, really, really bad code example. Okay, so we'll define something, and that's the name of our function. And this example will crash, which is why I'm not going to show you. It's why it's commented out. If I try to run this, it will crash. Okay, so we have a function something. We have a local variable, which is 1, and then we're going to return. So this is a typical function. Here's our main routine. We're going to call local variable by a print statement. And what will happen is this is going to crash because local variable is local. I can't print local variable. Yeah, and I'm going to get an error message that says something like name error, name local variable is not defined. Okay, so actually this example is pretty nice when it happens. Your program crashes, you're not going to create any weird code, and you're going to have to fix this, but that's a good thing. You're not going to go on and create something like what I'm about to show you. Okay, down here we've got this function called bad code. We've got a global variable, evil. You'll see why. And in this function, we're going to take evil plus itself itself plus 2. Then we're going to print bad code evil. So we're going to print that variable, and then we're going to stay on the same line. Then we're going to call the next function, which is confusion with evil. And confusion of evil, you notice there's no global statement in here. So evil equals integer of evil divided by 3. And then we're going to print confusion evil is evil. Okay, so it's already kind of confusing, huh? We have local and global variables with the same name. It's going to get worse. We take our main routine, and this just prints the header for the code, for the output. And we're going to have global evil. Okay, so like up here, we're going to start out with evil equals 4. And then we're going to say for x in range of 0 to evil. So evil should be 4, right? Then we're going to call bad code, which is here. And it'll come up here and start going through this code up here. We're going to say evil equals itself plus 1. And then we're going to print out x. So x is this value right here. Evil equals evil. So this is a different evil. And yeah, it's going to be unpleasant. Okay, so here we are. We have bad code evil equals 6 and confusion equals 2. So what happens is this started running. We got the title here of bad code, which we got from here. This doesn't print out anything. Evil equals 4. So we're going to say for x in range of 0 to, now this should be 4, right? 4. We call bad code. Bad code comes up here. Bad code has global of evil. Evil equals evil plus 2. So evil started out as 6. Okay, or sorry, has 4. We add 2, we get 6. Now we call confusion evil. Evil equals integer of evil divided by 3. We get 6. Okay, we get 2. That's right. So then we come back here. We fall back to our main routine. Evil equals evil plus 1. Now we print that out. X is 0, and evil here equals 7. Now, that's kind of messy. It's already messy. And if you run through this loop many more times, you get numbers that start like, where did these numbers come from? So you can get some really nasty code by mixing these things. There's 2 lessons here. One of them is be really careful when you're doing local versus global. And the other one is be really careful when you name variables. It's very important not to just like keep reusing the same variable over and over again, because it can be really confusing. What I will do is I will say something like evil underscore global and evil underscore maybe confusion, so that I know where it's coming from. Keep them separate. But that's just a hint, okay? Well, I hope you found that useful and interesting in your Python programming.